Hello, in today's session, we are going to talk about the low level and the high level modulated transmitter, and I am the presenter, Mrs. Suvarna Kadam. So, let us start about some basics of the television transmitter. So, what are the principles of color television transmitter? So, television transmission requirements of this particular I can say analog television. Your television uses a line of sight transmission, that is space wave propagation. The height of the antenna should be as high as possible. Omnidirectional antennas should be used, that it should cover the larger area, or you can't say a larger area, but the radiations must be equal in all the direction. So omnidirectional antenna is close to isotropic antenna, which equally radiates in all directions. The audio and video powers should be adjusted properly. The adjacent channel stations should be as apart as possible to avoid the crosstalk. Now, design principles of the TV transmitter. So, whenever your signal is transmitted, before transmitter, your signal is modulated. A video signal is amplitude modulated, and your audio signal is frequency modulated. So, whenever your modulation takes place, it takes place in a two ways. One is the low level modulation, and other one is nothing but the high level modulation. Let us see the difference between these two modulation techniques. High level modulation, in which the signal and carrier both are amplified first, and they are amplified to the power level required for transmission, and they are done in very initial stages. It is done like before modulation. So the modulation signal then modulates the carrier, thus the modulator operates at a very high frequency or at a high power, sorry, you can't say high frequency, but to the very high power level. Low level modulation, the modulation takes place at a low voltage level of modulating and carrier signal. The vestigial sideband filter is located after modulator, hence VSB filter operates at the low power level. So in short, if I say high level modulation is nothing but the high power modulation, and a low level modulation is nothing but the low power modulation. Now let us start first about the low level transmitters, which uses the low level modulation, or in other way it is also called as the IF modulated TV transmitter. As we know that whenever in the super heterodyning principle, instead of transmitting that particular signals, we generate the intermediate frequency to have a ease in the demodulation. So you are having a sound signal here, you are having a video signal here. So we know that intermediate frequency is a SIF, sound intermediate frequency, and this will be the VIF. So in the PAL system, this is 33.4 megahertz, and this is the 38.9 megahertz. So in the IF modulated television transmitter, your intermediate frequency is used for the modulation. So first we'll start with the video. You're having a video processing unit which processes your video, then you're having a diode bridge modulator which modulates your signal, and this crystal oscillator generates the carrier frequency or the frequency for modulation, which is nothing but the 38.9, and which is the video intermediate frequency. Then it is given to the delay equalizer to equalize delays if there is any. Then it is given to the vestigial sideband filter. So instead of say complete you can say double sideband full carrier, it transmits only vestigial sideband transmission. Video up converter, now here actually you are adding your picture carrier into your IF signal. So this is the crystal oscillator, another crystal oscillator which generates the sound carriers and a picture carrier. So picture carriers plus 38.9 megahertz takes place here. So whatever generated is called as a PC, given to the linear amplifier, that is amplification. If you do see here that your amplification stage is after your modulation stage, after your filter stage, okay? Then power amplifier, and then it goes to the diplexer. So diplexer allows audio video signal through a common antenna without having any interference in both the signals. Here in the audio processing, as we have already seen, our audio signal is frequency modulated, so you need this carrier signal. Now this, if you see, this is the SIF, sound intermediate frequency, is used as a carrier. It is given to the phase detector, then low pass filter, and given to the modulated oscillator. So here the oscillation takes place, and if you are having any frequency variations, that will be corrected with the automatic frequency control loop. The output will be at 33.4 megahertz as you have used this particular carrier. Then again you are generating the sound carrier, and your IF signal will be modulated by that particular carrier, and that's why it is called as the IF modulated TV transmitter. Then it is given to the linear amplifier, then to the power amplifier, and then to the diplexer. So diplexer is, you can say, it's a unit which allows both the signals to pass through a common antenna without having any interference. So this is all about the block diagram of IF modulated TV transmitter. And as your amplifications are in the latter part, after modulation, after filtering, it is to the very low power level. Okay? And that's why this is called as a low level transmitter. The next transmitter is nothing but the high level transmitter using a high level modulation. So you can see block diagram of a 10 kilowatt VHF, that is very high frequency transmitter. Okay, so how this particular thing takes place. Okay, so if you do remember the definition, your amplifiers are in the initial stages. So we'll talk one by one. First we'll deal with the video signal. You are having an amplifier initially, ठीक है, उसके बाद इक्वलाइजर, देन कंपनसेटर, देन यू आर हैविंग अ your video frequency amplifier, you are having the modulating amplifier. So before modulation there are several amplifiers you are using. You are increasing your power to the, say, 500 VA. Okay, now here this crystal oscillator generates the carrier given to the multiplexer, which multiplies it, frequency up conversion is done, again a amplification is done. This is the power amplifier driver, again this is the power amplifier driver, and this is the video output amplifier. ठीक है, यहाँ पे मॉड्यूलेशन के पहले एम्पलीफिकेशन, उसके बाद भी एम्पलीफिकेशन, एंड द पावर इज इंक्रीज्ड अप टू 10 किलोवाट, एंड देन इट इज गिवन टू द वेस्टिजियल साइड बैंड फिल्टर एंड अ डाइप्लेक्सर. ठीक है, दिस combined unit is called as a filter plexer, and then it goes to the antenna system. So here you can say that there is a several amplification stages before modulation and before filtering. Then audio, first pre-amplified, then modulated, multiplex means just multiplied that frequency to up convert, amplifier, this is power amplifier driver, up to 350 watt power will be increased. Again power amplifier, and your audio signal frequency will be, power will be 2 kilowatt, and that monitor, now that frequencies will be, or that particular signals will be given to this filter plexer unit. So vestigial sideband filter will allow only loud bandwidth of 7 megahertz, and it is given to the antenna system. Now you are having here a monitor receiver, whereas you are having a video monitor and you are having a sound monitor. Okay, continuously this power will be monitored. Okay, and if you are monitoring this particular power, if it goes below the 10 kilowatt for video and 2 kilowatt for audio, your system will have another standby system, and all this controls will be given to that particular standby system. So this is all about, this arrow is by mistake. Okay, so this is nothing but the block diagram of a 10 kilowatt VHF transmitter, where actually very high power will be transmitted. So I have given you an idea about what do you mean by low level transmitter and a high level transmitter. Let us see the difference between this low level and a high level modulation. So the first parameter, point at which modulation takes place. In the low level modulation, modulation takes place in the initial stage of amplification. In the high level modulation, modulation takes place in the final stages of amplification. What is the power level? Low level में आपका your modulation circuitry has to handle a low power. In the high level modulation, your modulation circuitry has to handle high power. Complexity, if you see low level में आपको बहुत low power handle करना पड़ता है, the complexity is less, and here it will be more complex as it need to handle a very high power. Prime factors in the design, simplicity, and here prime factor is the high efficiency and a low distortion. Amplifiers used, your linear amplifiers such as class A amplifiers is used in the low level. High efficiency class C amplifiers are used in the high level modulation. Efficiency is low in the low level modulation, and efficiency is high in the high level modulation. So this is all about the low level and the high level modulation, or you can say modulated transmitters. So we'll stop here. Thank you.